Good evening, everybody. It is Thursday night. It is 8 p.m. It is time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. And folks, buckle in. We got a full house tonight. The entire crew is here, and we got so much to talk about. Big things happening in the Lone Star State. We're going to talk about AEW's plans for stadium-sized shows in Texas in 2025. And then from there, people are on the bubble. We got a list of names because there's all kinds of rumors swirling of people and if they're going to leave, if they're going to stay, what their future may hold. We're going to break it all down because there's some very interesting names on this list. And we're going to talk about that tonight and so much more, folks. Get ready. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt.
Hello, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us tonight on this fine Thursday night. It has been a while since we have had the entire crew here, and it is a 5-screen deal going on tonight, a full house, if you will. So let me start at the top left. Silly Celis in the top left, Damian G in the Lone Star State, where we will be talking about tonight in the top middle. The big boss man is here tonight, so we can't play around. Two James up there on the right. Fellas, we can't goof off. We cannot goof off tonight. The boss man is here. So
no fun.
Let's be on our best behavior.
Definitely got to be on.
I'm down below him.
Too.
I am Will right here. And of course, to my left is Giant Grab Jamal. Gentlemen, how is it going? We have not all been in the same place at the same time for quite a while now.
Yeah, I left y'all in good hands. So
attendance wasn't needed. Did we do okay, boss?
Y'all been killing it. It's been busy. Everybody's been working, so it's good to be back and talk the graps with everybody.
There you go. We got a lot to catch up on tonight. Going into tonight, it was shaping up to be one of those weeks where it was like there's nothing crazy going on. There's not like big news going on. We got a week till the Wembley shows. We don't need to talk about Wembley just yet. SummerSlam was last week. We were heavy on WWE last week, so it was like tonight we can spread out a little bit and get into some different stuff. But we did have one little bit of news that we're going to open up with that got dropped this afternoon. So since I just mentioned Wembley coming up next week for AEW, apparently next year, 2025, they will not be returning to Wembley. Instead, in July, they will be taking their stadium plans elsewhere, as they announced this afternoon that AEW All In next year will be in the Lone Star State of Texas on Saturday, July 12th, emanating from Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers. So, interesting stuff going on there. They will not be at Wembley for a third year in a row, and they're going to run stateside as opposed to, because there's also rumors of Australia that are cooking, but nothing on that yet. But this would be the first stadium size, outside of the Arthur Ashe deal in New York City, which is tennis size. So this is definitely the biggest venue they'll have run in the States. So I guess first things first, thoughts on this move to shift from Wembley back to the U.S. and to go big in Texas, in Arlington. They've been doing their residency there. So I'm sure this is kind of tied into that. Hell, Damien, since you're down there, you're on the ground in Texas. We're going to you first.
So you're right, Will. To that point, you're right. They must have been doing something right with all those Arlington shows that gave them a modicum of, maybe we got a good venue deal over on Globe Life by being able to run these successful shows in Arlington. And we got a year out to plan this show out proper. Maybe because, like I said, I'm thinking about cost. Okay, stateside, cheaper on flights. There'll be some talent that live in Texas, so they don't have to travel as far. Maybe some tax breaks
too. It's Texas.
Tax breaks as well, because people want to move here. If you own a corporation, I passed by Tesla today. Actually, go figure. So it's one of those things where it's exciting on one hand to have a big, premium live event, pay-per-view, what have you, back in the States, especially this ilk. But I've said it before. What I'm worried about. They barely got 5Gs at the Curtis Caldwell Center over in Garland. and we were still missing some seats. So somewhere along the line, they're thinking in a year's time that they can do enough business to bring a Globe Field stadium stampede, pardon the pun, of people into this ballpark. And it's a hot effing ballpark. Like, if you've watched the Rangers games, it's not comfortable in the summertime at all. And I don't mind the heat, but damn. So I can only imagine what they're going to do by the time we get to July of next year. But I'm thinking, like, to what Two Chains just blurted out, tax breaks, number one. Number two, it's a lot more affordable to run stateside than have everybody and their mama go over across the pond. And number three, they must see something in the numbers that justify them, aside from maybe tax breaks, running a show here in DFW.
Probably tax breaks with the state and probably a discount deal for allowing them to run the multiple shows that they did. It's just probably business at that rate.
I'll give it that. That's fine. So am I going to go? Probably not, unless Two Chains says, hey, I need you there. And I said, okay, maybe I'll think about it.
Here we go with the jokes tonight.
Aside from there, I ain't going down to Globe Life Field unless I have to. So, meh.
So, Damien, let me ask this. Now, for a structural part, when you're talking about this new ballpark, because Texas was in their old Texas. Well, what was the name of the old ballpark when they was in? What was the name of that?
The ballpark at Arlington.
Ballpark at Arlington.
Well,
so I remember going from the outside of it. It was shaped just like Camden Yards here in the Baltimore area. So the thing that's tricky about baseball fields, you can cut off certain angles depending on how you set up your ring to make it look either bigger or impactful than it really is. Now, if you're inside the ballpark, can they do that in that ballpark where it makes it seem like it's more people than it really is and get away with it?
Your camera angles are going to have to be on point to be able to do that if you run lower than expected. Because I'm picturing other wrestling events I've gone to at baseball stadiums. For instance, when I lived in New York, Keyspan, Ring of Honor ran out of Keyspan Park, the Mets single A team, and it was still empty given the fact that it was a minor league ballpark. And they had to be real careful on television with camera angles to not make it seem as if nobody showed up aside from their cousins and their mamas. So I'll be really interested to see what the camera angles are going to be for this one. I mean, Globe Life, it's an expansive ballpark. It's just uncomfortable sometimes to sit there and watch a ball game. So for me, that's more what I'm thinking about because it's just uncomfortable. Like you have to be a diehard fan to just go there.
Is it a dome?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but still uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Is it just that Texas heat? Is that the issue?
Partly that, but I think also for those who have gone to, let's say, some place that has character for a ballpark, I feel like they try to incorporate Texas character in the Globe Life Field, and it just didn't feel comfortable for me, at least when I went. That's just me.
So I was actually at Globe Life Field back in April, and it was my first time there. And when I heard about this thing at that's going to be happening at the ballpark in Arlington, my first thought was, oh, damn. Because if it's a stadium show, that in and of itself, puts it on a different level. It doesn't matter really what's going to happen. It's the first time they're doing it. History is on their side. But it's at that stadium. And Globe Life Field is just not fun. It is not really a great place to see a game. And then, of course, the logistics getting in and out of there is a hellhole. You're either going to be stuck in traffic getting there. You're going to be stuck in traffic out of the game, unless you are staying at the Lowe's, which is like a part of the Texas Live thing, which surely will be $500 a night. But you're like just far enough away from everything that it's too far to walk, but not close enough to anything where you can go easily and get there. And it's just so hideously inconvenient. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just in case, because the other stadium you haven't mentioned is Jerry World, and for anybody who's attended WrestleManias, the last two in Dallas were there. Just a glimpse of those folks who thought they were going to get out of WrestleMania both nights and thought they were going to catch an Uber and get home. Well, joke's on you. This stadium's next to it. So just imagine what that logistics were for that. that you'll just be doubling back down on the same ordeal.
Yeah,
I think sellers, when we went, we walked the chill, and our stadium was like our hotel was right outside of that area
right
where
there.
the next cluster of hotels were. And
I
I
was
think
next
we
to the
walked
burger place.
well, that's a mile, easy,
Yeah.
or two.
If not longer, it felt much longer. It took us like an hour to get back.
And we had to
I mean,
walk
if you're walking and
around.
you're halfway to Six Flags, then that's at least 2 miles from AT&T Stadium.
I think the way they had the traffic and walkway blocked up, we had to walk almost to Six Flags to come into right point where our seats were. So
and God forbid you get an Uber, because the games that I went to back in April, I think the paid attendance was around 30,000. It seats 45 or something like that. Okay, fine, but getting an Uber out of there was like hell on wheels. I mean, it just wasn't going to happen because of how many people have to drive to the stadium. Logistically, it's a nightmare. As far as the show is going to be the show. I'm not necessarily concerned about their ability to produce the show. Will they invest in a giant stage? Will they keep it more minimalist, like as they've done with like Arthur Ashe? That's not my concern. My thing is that a place that I want to spend 5 hours? And I don't think it is. Now, they do have a lot of areas where you can walk around, a lot of viewpoints and vantage points that overlook, and that's great for baseball. But when you're trying to look at a wrestling ring from 350 feet away down the line in left field, it doesn't work the same. I will give them credit, though, because the giant scoreboard that hangs above the retractable part of the stadium roof is pretty nice, and they have another one in left field that for the people in right field that are under the scoreboard so they can't see it. So people will be able to watch without having to build the ring with the giant towers, with the video board above it necessarily. But it is a thing where it just is a big ball of okay. Now, to be fair, the Rangers, they because the schedule's out for next year, the Rangers play Baltimore there on July 2nd. They're not back there until July 18th. So whatever AEW has planned for this thing, they have a smooth, weekend to have.
Is Dallas any preseason games that week?
In July?
In July, no.
It shouldn't be in July. No.
It would just be training camp.
July.
Oh, it's in July. I'm tripping. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking
early July too.
Sorry. I'm thinking they announced it now for this time next year. But
they said July 12th, right?
So they shifted it about a month early now.
Yeah.
And
which will be good because it won't be crammed up. It won't be crammed up against All Out anymore. So that's a plus that they're doing it early July.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Now, and that's also another thing too. Getting into the building, fighting your way through the mobs to get into the building is one thing. Texas in July is another thing.
Texas Heat. Texas Heat.
David is like, please tell me more about my situation.
Please.
It is. Hold on, wait. It is a dome. You said, but is it a retractable dome or is it straight dome?
It's a retractable dome.
Retractable.
But you still got to deal with it.
But you still got to get there, and you're going to be waiting in the traffic for an hour once you get off the toll road.
Yeah.
And then you have to walk 40 minutes from your car because you can't get the good parking spot. You got to go to
or you're walking because you're not parking.
You're 3 miles away.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And then, of course, the show's going to be 7 hours long because it is a pay-per-view. And, Khan loves to pack the boat.
Better. We pray to get better by then.
People are not feeling this venue. That's the big story of tonight.
I'll say this, though. I agree. The show is the show. And I think that at this point now, the business is the business. That's the big win for them because obviously they're going to probably have brokered a good deal to make this happen. They got to promote it because in terms of the deal, once you receive money, one way or another, there's still work to be done and promoting it like a really big deal. Some accolade attached to it, attendance number or first time in this stadium, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all of the propaganda in order to making the business work. But I think for the fans, listen, if you like wrestling, you're going to go. There may be some convenience to it. I also think that logistically getting into Texas. I'm just saying, like for the folks who like it's wrestling, gotta go. We know the folks that say if there's 2 pay-per-views back to back, they will go both weeks because you gotta go, type of thing.
Right.
But are there 45,000 of those people though?
I'll get to that.
That's the mystery. In a year from now, who knows? We're a year out. So
But
who knows
I'll
how
say,
hot
like,
or cold they may be a year from now.
I'll say, like, for Texas though, you got 2 airports to get in there, so that's a little bit friendly on that note.
In Dallas?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're better off
Yeah.
going through DFW because if you're
Right.
going to Love Field, you are screwed.
It don't matter how many people go to Miami and end up going to
I get
Fort
it.
Lauderdale.
I get it.
Not me. I'm just saying, but people
Right.
do it now. But yeah, I just think that for the glamour of this now, because that's the real big deal. The folks that's going to spend the money to go. Wembley is a big deal. Never been done. You've probably never been to the UK, and you
What
get
a
to go see a
downgrade.
wrestling show.
Arlington,
Big deal.
Texas is not London.
All is in Texas. Doesn't
That's a
scream.
downgrade.
It doesn't scream like I need to be down in the dirty D. You know what I mean? And if
But
you
that's
do
the thing.
go,
The Dirty D is 25 miles away that way.
no doubt, no doubt. But if you did go, you more than likely gonna be more enticed to go see Jerry World. You might want to see CD Lamb before you go see a show. It's
But
just
it's not
the thing.
open.
They won't be playing at that
I'm
point.
saying for the reasons why people may want to go down there, like for the reasons people say I need to go to Dallas. Outside of
Ah,
wanting
the
to see
strip
Damien
clubs. I see.
Yeah.
The strip clubs.
and the food, the food.
Oh, well, I mean, you can get some long T-shirts and big tees down in South Dallas. You know, that's
But nah, I just think that the glamour behind it, that isn't a selling factor here. The stadium isn't a selling factor. And I'm not gonna be a hypocrite here, but I was very pro WWE when they were running baseball stadiums for Royal Rumble in January, excuse me. And so that glamour is gone because it's already been done now for multiple years. So it's like, what does a wrestling show look like in a baseball stadium? We have plenty of examples of that thus far. So like for me, as the person that may be like, maybe I want to go, maybe I don't want to go, it doesn't have that draw appeal just yet. The show's going to be the show. Dallas is Dallas. The Heat will be there.
But it's
not even Dallas.
It's Arlington.
So, Two Chains, here goes a question for you. Two Chains, right now, scale of 1 to 10. 10 is yes, I'm definitely going. Where is your rate right now of attending this event right now?
Probably 5, and 5 only because Damien's there. Literally it.
So nice.
If Damien wasn't there, it'd be a 3 or a 2.
Yeah, 1,000%. And again, I think Marcellus, we talk about this all the time. When we travel for wrestling, we always say what cities are logistical friendly for us. If it's in New Orleans, it's a yes.
Number one for New Orleans.
80% of the time. You get there, you can get everywhere without a problem. There's not a lot of cities that have that. So the other thing is like, what's the stadium? What's the draw to the city? Which is why I commend WWE and their selections because they book new arenas that just opened. So when they did SummerSlam and Allegiance, I was like, is Allegiance?
Yep,
that's
Allegiant
the Vegas stadium, right?
Vegas,
Yeah, Allegiant. I'm calling it Allegiant.
And that's what
Allegiant. Yeah, right. It's like, oh, nice. Never been in that stadium. It was brand new. They only had ran one other show, which was like Garth Brooks, and then they ran the show. I was like, yeah, I want to be in that. Whoever runs the Sphere, I haven't had a chance to go there yet. I definitely will be like, what does that look like? You know what I mean? So, you know, whoever does because I still have never been to the Giants Stadium, the baseball Giants. Whoever runs the show there, I'm absolutely gone. Never even been to San Francisco. So like stuff like that.
But look at what you're putting together, though. You're saying that what the hell is the thing called? SBC Park or whatever they call it out there in San Francisco. It's in the city. It's at 3rd and Jackson, right down the street from everything else. You know, get on the train. You know, get on Caltrain. It's right in the middle of everything. Then you also mentioned Allegiant Stadium in Paradise, just off the strip. 10 minutes from the airport, 5 minutes from everything else. It's right there in the middle of everything. Cool. Arlington is neither of those things.
I know. I drove it. I know.
Right. So, and that's part of what it is for me. Even London, Wembley, right off of the National Rail. You know, you can get there from anywhere in the UK. To be honest with you, they have like 5 airports there. I mean, like, it's attractive, and it's Wembley. Same thing. They make a big deal about Madison Square Garden, Rogers Center in Toronto. Just the number of things. And that's even still with the thing. If there were a show at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, oh yeah. I don't necessarily love the stadium. I do like the improvements that they made this year, but it's right in the middle of Baltimore. And it's still fucking Baltimore. Yeah. If it's at FedEx Field or whatever they call it now, I don't know.
Commander Stadium.
Yeah. Oh, right. So
ain't no going to Landover.
I don't know if I want to go to Landover.
and I'm right down the street from it.
So then that's another question. It's like how big of a step down is it to run this event in Arlington? Like, are they panicking now that they can't do Wembley? Like, how big of a step down is it?
My guess is they're simply going with the idea of we can sell this as our first stadium event,
Correct,
in North America, and they're going to get it. I'm sure they are getting a nice deal with all the business they've been doing in Arlington, and I think they're just looking at it like that, and then probably looking at Wembley as like Wembley's not doing quite as hot this year, so doing it 3 years in a row is probably absolutely not the move. So we got to do something different. Well, yeah, that's a whole other discussion about how Arthur Ashe is looking.
Well, let me ask you a few questions because you can get some answers in there. So, if they feel like this is more of a backup plan and a safety measure, well, why not run it in Jacksonville? The same incentives
as much as they run Daly's place. I wouldn't do it in Jacksonville.
But see, that's the thing. They ran Chicago to the ground, and that's never stopped them. Why not go home?
Because Chicago's a bigger wrestling town than Jacksonville.
I don't know about that. I mean, Jacksonville's a short drive away from probably the biggest wrestling town in
Tony
Orlando.
Khan, maybe. It's a short drive.
Jacksonville's not a short drive from anywhere.
I think Orlando's about 2.5, 3.
That's not short.
That's a short drive
bro.
to you?
1 hour less.
To Albany.
1 hour less.
It's no different from us going to New York. So
that's 4 hours. That's not a short drive.
Three hours depending on where you at. But I mean, like, if something's in New York and we really want to go, we do it. I don't see that being.
Hawaii,
I get what you're saying.
I get what you're saying. It's not convenient. I'm just saying, the whole thing about Globe Life Field, and they just built the stadium, and they're going to, and all of the officials from Arlington and Tarrant County are going to get out there and say, hey, this is what it is. Huzzah. We have a new pleat in our cap. I hope they actually say huzzah. We have a new pleat in our cap, and we're going to do something that's never been done before in the history of this building, which is only 3 years old or whatever it is. 4 years old, because I think they opened it during COVID. So the point is that that's why it looks attractive for AEW. That's why I'm looking at the picture from Channel 4 in Dallas. They have the Big Show somehow in this
recognizable face.
But yeah, that's why they have their biggest stars and Athena, who really, I mean, come on.
She lives in Carrollton, doesn't she?
Yeah. Oh, right. I thought she was from Denton, but still, even if she's in that area, the point is that this should be her show. With that said, though, it's really more about the novelty of the event. Yeah. And they could have done that in a better place, because no matter where they did it, it still would be the home of whoever, and the novelty would be just the same. I'm just saying they couldn't have picked the worst space to do it unless they did it at Fort Worth at TCU Stadium.
Oh, God,
we said last year, how much of the draw last year wasn't that AEW was going to London? It was that there was a wrestling show in Wembley for the first time since 1992. That was the draw. That it was Wembley having wrestling for the first time in like decades.
Right.
But I think you could argue
same thing with Ash.
I think you could argue that this draw would be okay if WWE can do it in Texas, maybe we could do it in Texas too. Yet it's going to be a different venue. But if this works, maybe one day we can make it to Jerry's World and prove that we can do something in Texas. But like you said, good luck. I'm not sold on it. But I think that's what they're trying to use as that avenue.
And again, I think it goes all the way back to the first point we made. This is to save money, potentially tax breaks, and all that good stuff to put more money in Tony's pocket, because maybe running at Wembley was a net loss. I don't know. I've never seen the financials, so I don't know if any of you would know if it was a net loss, but save money, put it in your pocket, make a profit.
Well, but also Khan has connections in London, which is why he was able to get Wembley, and that's a whole thing too. And even if he couldn't do Wembley again, there are other stadiums, large capacity soccer stadiums in the Greater London area where they could have run. Hell, he owns one.
Good point.
Yeah.
Where is WWE running next year?
Well, that's part of it.
Dickies.
If they're running London next year, if the talk of WrestleMania is happening, it's got to be Wembley. It's got to be. So is that part of the deal too? That they're looking at next year and being like, the elephant's going to come here, and we ain't want to try to be picking up the pieces in the aftermath of that. I mean, who knows?
I mean,
Right.
there's definitely a lot.
We know
of
they're
business.
talking. We know they're talking.
Yeah,
So.
definitely just a lot of business stuff happening.
So how many of us are actually going to go?
So
Not
hold
me.
on.
Oh,
I wanted to ask you something, Will. What would be the appeal? Is, let's just say they ran this show in Baltimore. If they ran it at Camden Yards, does that change anything for you?
Well,
Yeah, it's
obviously
Camden
for us, it'd be the convenience of there ain't no flight. We can just drive up the road and get there. So that makes everything.
Correct.
And there's no hotel involved. We can sleep in our own beds and just go up the road to Camden Yards. I'd be there in a second. No big deal. When so you're not having to really travel to the show. Hey, cool. They ran M&T.
It's still Camden Yards though, and that's the thing. They've never done anything like this before. The history of the stadium, the importance of Camden Yards as a stadium, the legacy that the building holds. And the fact that they're doing something they haven't done in this 32-year history makes it that. And even though we live in that area and it's just an hour ride on the train or up the parkway, it's still to the point of like it's Camden Yards. With that said, though, when they go back to CFG Bank Arena, okay. I mean, like nobody's fighting for them to go back to UMBC. Nobody's fighting for them to go back. But if they did it at Fenway in Boston,
something unique.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I want to see. And it's just that, like, that novelty for a lot of people are going to be, oh my God, I need to be a part of this. 50,000 screaming chuckleheads in Arlington, and they're going to go regardless. And I get that. I'm just saying, as a person that's been to that stadium with its very cramped seats and its very steep, walkways, good luck on tickets. They do have this cool thing though, where the backstop is. You can actually stand behind the backstop instead of it just being brick and whatever. So there's actually seating, standing room area under the seats that come to the backstop at home plate. But that's assuming that the ring is going to be there, because I've been to some of those baseball shows. Like TNA had a baseball show at MCU Bank Park.
You mean Global Force?
No, I mean TNA, because that's what they were then. They had a baseball show in Brooklyn at the park on the water. And they just put the ring at home plate, and it made the diamond that is the ring at home plate. And they gathered the fans around as close as they could to the ring and had some chairs at second base, and that was basically it. The rest of the 350-foot outfield or whatever is completely expansive. So there were really only two cameras from two directions, because if you did anything else, you were staring at the Atlantic Ocean. I don't have a problem with AEW. They'll already figured that out. But I think it makes logistical sense, since they already have a residency that they're concluding soon. And then, of course, there is the partnership with the city of Arlington as well. So good on the city of Arlington. AEW gets to make a bit of history again. They already have the graphic. Okay, fine.
What's the history? I'm sorry, we keep mentioning the history. What is the history that they're running the stadium show inside of?
The fact that they've never done this at this building before.
Okay, so it's history for them.
It's history for both of them.
Okay, cool. So business.
First time.
I mean, we can.
I mean, it's like, obviously that doesn't have to mean anything, because you could say that literally everywhere they go.
Yeah, he's not saying Arlington is the big hullabaloo thing. It's just that just happens to be happening.
Yeah, they're going to Rapid City, South Dakota soon. Yeah. I mean, I believe that's the first time they've ever been there too. So,
I mean, and honestly, I definitely know we're about to get a half. So last time I'm gonna quickly say is that's Khan's thing. If it ain't numbers, analytics, or some merit or milestone or accolade, that's what he does. And this is no different. So I'm not mad at him for being the business person, the promoter he is. That's what he's gonna do all the time. I mean, hell, he's the first probably wrestling gimmick to ever be in the NFL draft ever, with a neck brace that transcends into a show.
Forgot about
that. Trendsetter. There's that.
Let's move this on, because we spent more time on this than I thought we were going to spend on it. I not realized the venue would be such a big deal, and there'd be so much to talk about with a Globe Life Field. Now we know. So quick question, Jamal: do we have Indie Spotlight this week?
We can.
We can. All right. Since it's that time, this is what we will do. We will hit halftime. We will come back with Indie Spotlight, and then we will get to the wrestlers on the bubble in the second half because rumors are swirling. So we're going to talk about some of these folks and see what should maybe happen with them. How could things possibly shake out? So we'll see what's up with that in the second half. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because, limited time offer here at biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com. Again, that is biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com, and let them know Damon G sent you.
All right, folks, when we come back from halftime, we always like to check out what's happening on the indie scene. So here's Giant Crab with this week's Big Gold Belt Podcast Indie Wrestling Spotlight.
So this week we are going to go all the way down to Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and the Coliseo Ruben Rodriguez for the World Wrestling Council's 51st anniversary show.
Oh, hell yeah.
Kickoff is at 4 p.m. Local time, and everything starts at 8. You can get your tickets at ticketera.com, ticketera.com/anniversario51-WWC, ticketera.com-anniversario51 WWC. It's August 31st. It's a Saturday at 8 p.m. Everything starts. Tickets start at $25. And if you want to get ringside, you want to get up close and personal with the Super Estrellas, as they call them, that's $80. But it's the 51st anniversary, one of the most important wrestling promotions in the Caribbean, WWC Anniversario 51. And that is just largely, like, everybody that you know that's from the Caribbean has probably come through there. The Caribbean or Mexico has probably come through there at some point. So for them to celebrate their 51st anniversary is a major, major deal. So if you are on the island, any of the islands, get over to Puerto Rican island. You're going to want to be in Bayamon at the Coliseo Ruben Rodriguez on Saturday, 31 de agosto de 2024.
Thank you.
Because that's what it says on the flyer. Bring your pocket translator.
Spanish.
Yeah, bring your pocket translator, and you head on down to the Puerto Rican island. You're going to be in Bayamon for the 51st anniversary show for the WWC, World Wrestling Council, and that's your indie spotlight for this week.
Damien, did you hear that R rolls on that too, Damien?
I did hear the R roll. Nice, Jamal. Nice.
I love hearing WWC still getting it, because that was one of the classics.
Me too. I thought they were done, so I'm glad they're still around.
That was always, you'd see the bloody photos in the wrestling magazines of all like the blood brawls they'd be having down in Puerto Rico. So it was always a mystique to WWC when I was
Cologne country is a hell of a time.
Yes, it is.
There we go. All right, here's what we are doing in the second half. This was going to be our original big topic for the night before all this stadium shenanigans broke. There is a number of names in wrestling that have rumors swirling around them about their deals are up or their deals are about to be up, and whether they should leave, whether they should go somewhere else, whether they should stay, what their future should be. So I've collected a bunch of these names. I figure let's break it down. Let's go with that. Especially we got the whole group here. We got the full house, so we can make this very interesting with like going around the horn on these. So it's our wrestlers on the bubble of the moment. Right off the bat, I'm going to start with one of the biggest ones. In my mind, I think this might be the biggest name. And I almost forgot about this one. Celis reminded me when I was coming up with the list. wrestlers on the bubble, Bobby Lashley. So, Bobby Lashley is an interesting one here because he's 48 years old. Bobby has been around quite a long time, all the way back to Ohio Valley. So we're talking a guy that's older than a lot of the guys we will be talking about tonight. So, Celis, since you were the one to bring him to the list here, all the talk that Bobby Lashley's time with WWE is done, his cycle is wrapping up. If Bobby Lashley, well, what should Bobby Lashley do? Is there room for him in WWE? Should he go somewhere else? Well, where's the landscape look like for Bobby Lashley?
So this is where I think his landscape is, and I think there's only one place he can go, and he's been there before. I think he finishes out his career in MMA. I don't think he has anywhere in the squared circle anymore. I think he wants to go to the octagon where he could do something, just to finish off his great career. Once again, you said he's 48. Give him a couple of years in the MMA, maybe about 2 or 3 matches, which he did a decent job while he was in there. But going to AEW, going to independence, he's not no hot up-and-comer wrestler. He's somebody that's a seasoned vet. His name can carry for itself, but doing something like a physical combat like MMA, I think that's the only way he can go if he doesn't finish in WWE.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say TNA because
that's what I thought too.
Because he got a lot of his post-WWE success from TNA, the Hootie years. So I think it would make more sense for him to go there, get whatever schedule he wants. He's a big name. What's Bobby Lashley doing here in the Impact Zone? And we'll go from there. And I think he's at the age now where, look, as much as he's 48, he looks 34. Let's be real here. So it's not like Ric Flair doing his last match. So he's a big enough name where if he goes back to TNA, he can make his own schedule, work limited dates like a Brock schedule, still be a big, doesn't have to be involved with the main event picture. He could just be there and just be a showcase, make his money, and go home with his kids that he seems to be loving right now. He seems to be loving the dad life right now. So I think TNA will give him that opportunity. I don't want him to go to AEW. I don't see it. Unless he's going to have a pose off with somebody, I don't really see the point. But I'd rather he finish off, if not MMA, to Celis's point, TNA.
30 seconds and go. All right. So, silly Celis ain't being silly for once. I love this idea. He's always really spoke about his time in MMA. And my short answer is because you think like, oh, where does he sign? PFL, or does he take a look for the UFC? I don't think Bellator even exists anymore. To some extent, or the merger, excuse me. But nonetheless, with celebrity boxing and celebrity combat sports being the thing that is getting people paid in a way they have never been paid before, go get you a check, brother. Then after that, you hang it up. Maybe you do two or three, depending on how they go. But you're definitely going to get that one. And when you got people like, I don't even want to mention his name because I know y'all going to have something to say, but ex-Panthers player going out there still getting mollywopped, but getting checks nonetheless. There's definitely a market for folks out there. So I would be down for it. And you know what? If Francis Ngannou is out there trying to do boxing masters, I would be damned if Bobby Lashley ain't trained and see if he can get one of those in too.
I don't know. I mean, so like I want to say the easy answer is he goes to AEW. Like why wouldn't he? I do think that there are some interesting matches that could happen, but he's also 48. I don't know. Now, it doesn't have to mean anything because Lashley at 48 is very different than Mark Henry at 48. So
correct.
That sure. I think there's obviously some juice left in the onion. I don't know if AEW needs him. They don't need any more singles wrestlers, to be honest with you, male or female. But I also don't see him as the old veteran taking young guys under his wing. And also, more importantly, does he? No matter where he goes, as long as he doesn't do the Hurt Business 3.0, I'm good. I don't care if it's an NWA or MLW or if he just runs the Indies. Just as long as he comes out and gives us something completely different or unfamiliar, I'm A-okay with it. But as far as where he winds up, I really don't think he's in a rush to wind up anywhere. And if he wants to do a couple of spot deals with somebody, maybe a quick program at TNA, a quick program at AEW, I see him doing a lot more of that and working at his own pace than jumping in from one contract to another.
Cherry pick some spots here and there. something like that.
Like, oh, you got a show in Texas. I should be there.
It should be mentioned too that Bobby is very much a Vince guy. So with whatever bit of loyalty you want to call that,
the landscape changed for him.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah,
and he's gone on record and said that. Yeah.
He's definitely a guy that Vince was all about, and Vince had a vested interest in.
And he's a Vince, and that's a type of Vince wrestler. Vince knows exactly what to do, and we'll call it what it is. But Bobby had his best run of his career when Vince was in there. So
as long as he's not speaking out of his butt cheeks again, we're good, bro.
I like the MMA idea as like kind of like, and even 2 Chainz with the celebrity combat sports deal idea. Like that's an interesting one. That it'd be easy money. So he's definitely got options, and I think probably the safest route, if he just wants an easy route, is probably just do another tour of TNA. You know, that's probably the easiest path of all. Anywhere, because AEW, he's gonna have to put his working boots on, and I don't know if there's necessarily a spot for him there. AEW is so crowded that's the number one reason I'd be like, why? Especially.
Hey, Will, what about the paywall of honor?
Oh, well, maybe they put him in the paywall of honor, and he gets to be like the head guy there.
Yes.
Off his name value, maybe. I don't know.
A joke.
We'll see. All right, Bobby Lashley was our first one. Now we'll go to the names that brought this whole idea up to begin with. Since the rumors were going around this week, well, actually for a couple weeks now, and there was a statement put out this week by Pentagon saying that AEW is his present. Notice he specifically said present.
Listen,
Let's stop the gossip. AEW is my present.
Listen, we have to address the sentence structure here. Yeah. It's not his fault here. All translators don't get the job done. Okay,
it's the translator's fault. He's not being slick. He wasn't being clever.
No, I do not think that was like a mind fuck for everybody. I was like, the translator didn't translate there. That's all that was. He meant it. All he had one
job.
All he was trying to say was AEW's his home, and that joke was like, this doesn't look like that's what you want to say. Present.
Boy.
Yeah, so let's just be clear, at least for me, and I don't know if y'all agree, but I felt like he was trying to say AEW is his home, and the translator had other plans.
Okay, well, so that is our next group, the Lucha Brothers, that we thought about with this. So we got Ray Phoenix, who is 33, been wrestling for a good almost 20 years now.
I'm about to say it's an old 33.
Yeah, it's old 33.
Pentagon, well, hell, because they started him young down there south of the
16,
border.
baby.
Yeah, there you go. Pentagon, on the flip side of that, is 39 and been going for 16 years. So Pentagon a little bit older than his brother, but the Lucha Brothers as a package, rumored to be finishing up with AEW possibly, maybe not, who knows. So 2 Chainz, you're the one who brought them up to get this whole ball rolling on this idea. So thoughts on the Lucha Brothers beyond the translator doing Pentagon dirty?
Well, obviously, I think they stay at AEW. They're gonna get a good restart. But if they were to shift anywhere, I mean, I think that they still are very low key, one of the best tag teams in the world, and I think they still have to go to the major leagues to prove that. They had an incredible run right now as it stands in AEW, and I also think that who doesn't want to still be in that same synergy of some of the other luchadors right now in WWE? With Ray being there, you have to get Dominic his love too, but also look at everybody else in Legado and everybody else that's in LWL. I mean, when you see what they're doing in terms of the representation of the Latino community there, it has to be at least piques your interest to some extent. And I also think too that at some point, if they did decide to go that route, it becomes less about wrestling, more about entertainment. And I think that's something that they have not tapped into. I mean, Pentagon and Ray have so much mass media appeal. I mean, for everything that everybody praised Jade Cargill on, or everything you praise Rey Mysterio on in terms of them transcending outside of wrestling, you can't look at Pentagon and not say the same thing. My man cosplays every single day, and that right there sells merch. The kids are in. And then Ray, for everything he does, and there's a big spot open now, considering that Ricochet has left. When you talk about a superhero gimmick and who can do all the flips and tricks and all that other stuff, look no further than Ray Phoenix. So I think that they have not only potential, but the ceiling is super high for them. And then they also get to just go back on the moniker, just being one of the best tag teams in the world. And now they actually get to prove it because they get to go wrestle a bunch of these other folks that they have never had an opportunity to do so.
If this was the black and gold NXT, I would want them in WWE because they had a premium on tag team wrestling. It was something that was given time and effort. Lately, the tag team division, at least to me in WWE, doesn't seem as if, I don't know, playing hot potato with the women's titles, and it's just.
I don't know about that. That NXT tag team has been cooking, man. Chase
I'm not saying NXT.
cooking.
Okay, that's first off, that's Jamal's thing. Okay, we're gonna let him have that. But I'm just talking about the main roster, if you want to say that. Yes, he could sell merchandise with Cero Miedo, masks, the catchphrase, because we got Yeet over. We might as well get Cero Miedo over in WWE. But honestly, I hate to say it again, I would rather they go back to where we found them, which was Impact TNA. I would rather them be over there because, one, they could work their Mexico dates if they really wanted to. They wouldn't have a problem with them going working their Mexico dates. We can do some weird Worlds Collide where we have insert Team A from another promotion going up against the Lucha Brothers. Their presentation is superhero-esque. If they bring Alex Abrahantes with them too as a lackey, I think that would be perfect. But that's neither here nor there for me. But I think if WWE was going to just think, like you said, entertainment, then I'd say that's a good fit for them because they can be portrayed as superheroes. But at the same time, we have somebody by the name of Dragon Lee that is now MIA in WWE who has the same kind of, I guess, lucha aura, if you want to go there. But I think as a backup plan, I'd say send them over to TNA because they've had some good matches there. And again, they get to work their schedule and work wherever they want.
I got really quickly, 2 comments. Yeah, y'all gotta remember TNA pockets ain't deep. Let's go there first of all.
But again, it can offset by being able to work wherever you want to when you're not doing TNA.
But I mean, it still draws you to NXT because you go there and they are working something that seems to be extremely beneficial to both. And also, I would say Dragon Lee. Let's not forget that Dragon Lee, they put the rocket pack on him as soon as he stepped foot in WWE. He was on the main roster, SmackDown, Raw. He was all over the place, and I'm not sure where he's at right now. Could be an injury, who knows? Or maybe he just needed time. But either way, they when it was time for him to go, they did. Last thing I just want to quickly say is, y'all have to remember in these movements, make your next move your best move, and also a lot of people want to work smarter now. Yes. Going to AEW is a merit of being the best wrestler because the best wrestlers do wrestle in in AEW. And that means you're going out there and you putting it on the line each and every day to prove that. I think once you decide that maybe that's not the place for you anymore, you have to say, let me reel back that, get into a safer measure of wrestling, and let me just collect the checks and all the other incentives that comes around it. So I never think that once you leave AEW, your next move should be, I need to wrestle harder somewhere else. It should easily be what makes the most sense for my family, what makes the most sense for my brand. If I don't have a brand, there's one place that definitely can get you one, and that's WWE. You got to be thinking about the move outside of wrestling at that point, especially when you're leaving from AEW.
So I'll jump in here. Damian, I do want to give you kudos because I think the black and gold NXT, where we had the revival and things of that nature, that was when I think NXT was best in their tag team circle. Now, to answer your question with, Pentagon and Ray, I think, so I'm going to sound homer when I say this, and I'm going to explain why, because I think they will go one place, but I feel they'll be better in another place. Now, of course, there's somebody in the NFL that they're just waiting for him to retire, that they compare a celebrity with a tag team, and that is George Kittle with this tag team, and you put them right on WWE, make a WrestleMania moment, and have George Kittle do something like Rob Gronkowski did a couple of years ago in WrestleMania. But I think you start them off in NXT to really build up that tag team division, then put them up there when George Kittle is ready to say, I'm done with football, let me to move into wrestling, and use the celebrity angle to build that up to the entertainment point, like you said, 2 Chainz. However, I really think if it's not AEW that they go to, I would like them to see him in New Japan wrestling. I would like to see that, because I think they will have a great market out there where they would get even more international to connect what they started in Mexico. We did in the States. Let me try to go to, New Japan and see how it works from there. Now, I know New Japan still connected with AEW in some ways and stuff of that nature, but I think it'll be a great showing to put up some great tag team matches over there.
CMLL. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't see how. Yeah, I don't see how they just don't go back to CMLL and just be big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, they got the Brink. They got the Brinks truck ready.
They got all the pesos ready. Stacked up. And I don't see why they wouldn't do that. They can absolutely do both. And then of course work a schedule that is relevant in the US and do both. Again, I think we're in this era where it wasn't just trying to make it the WWE and surviving. Now that people are leaving, there's really a number of different outlets where you can go, and I don't whoever you pick, you don't have to do one thing. I just think the CMLL specifically over AAA just fits their schedule, fits what they're trying to do. They're more consistent than AAA, and they have the ability to branch out and run the indies in the US, still keeping that name out there for people. And then of course going back to Mexico is a no-brainer. So yeah, and if anything, honestly, because of their popularity in the US, that could potentially give CMLL an inroad into US territory, which is surprising. Well, not surprisingly, because they've had some issues in the very recent past, but that's definitely a thing that they should be looking to do. San Antonio is not that far away from Monterrey. Juarez is right across the river from El Paso. San Diego is a spitting distance from Tijuana. I mean, like, I don't understand why, we got to beg them for a show in Los Angeles. Either way, the Lucha Brothers could absolutely be a big fish in a small pond and go run Mexico until they don't want to no more.
All right. I want to keep this moving instead of chiming in anymore on the Lucha Brothers. I'm looking at the clock as we're going here. All right. Here's one of the biggest names. Here is one of the biggest names on this list. And I want to frame it this way, because Lord knows there's been talk about this guy for months. He ain't been on TV. Everyone knows he's friends with the WWE champion. He's been backstage there. So I'm going to frame it like this. If we're talking about Ricky Starkz on the bubble, is there any reason for him not to make a move and stay where he is in AEW?
No.
Everyone's shaking their head.
Young fella, go test the waters here.
Yes.
Go be great.
Go
be
great. There's nothing else to elaborate with that. It doesn't even matter where he goes. He just needs to go test the waters. Period.
Get out of there. Period.
Yeah, just
not
get
so
out.
much.
Yeah. I think one thing we're
No
also
one thinks he should
forgetting
stay.
too.
Not at all.
I think there's one thing we're forgetting is that he can also come back at some point. I don't think the doors is completely closed here.
Nothing's forever. Nothing's forever in wrestling.
I would listen. He's already made a name for himself in the Indies. That's how he got the AEW. At this rate now, he needs to go see and work different styling of television and different folks all over. So it doesn't even matter where he goes. Just go. Get your stock up. Come back. Get a better check. Become more in demand. And then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a matter of what he wants to do. And I'll keep it very short. I want the Ricky Starkz World Tour 2025 until forever.
All day.
Me too.
Yeah, all day. Because if he shows up in Japan, yep. He shows
Big
up
deal.
in NXT, WWE, absolutely. Yep. Shows up at TNA, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, there isn't anywhere that he really can't go to not elevate a promotion, any promotion. Now, and this is the thing here, real quick, and I'll say this: when they dropped the ball and they had Starkz versus Friedman, you already knew what time it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like period. You already knew what it was. Okay, cool. Now, Jade Cargill says that her good friend Ricky Starkz is in a good place. As a fan of Ricky Starkz, I have to take that and say good for him, because I don't pay his bills. So if he's in a good place, then I'm in a good place. But as far as going out there and being one of the biggest wrestlers and elevating your stock, I think that is something that he absolutely can do. The only way is up for him, unless he decides not to do. But as far as the end of AEW, we already know what time it is.
Listen, I know this may be a super unpopular opinion, but I think Ricky Starkz is that type of person that if he decides to hit the indies, I strongly suggest that David Finlay watch his back, because he is that person that you can instantly say, I can see him being the leader of the Bullet Club, and that being that first step and catalyst to even more stardom behind him and even more attention, and hell, maybe even the attention that New Japan has been really needing again from over the years, because it's not that they haven't been doing good wrestling, it's just that they haven't really had that big star.
They don't have that guy.
They don't have that guy.
There's been no spark for years.
Yeah. And
they've been getting by on their stars of the 2010s forever.
Yeah.
So
and Ricky feels like that guy that could do it.
And they have a U.S. division.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I mean, heck, they're about to come to DC in a week or two. So
they're 31st.
They're doing a show here. Yeah, very soon. So I mean, I'm looking at it this way. Ricky is 34 years old. It's time to make the move. Well, he's young for wrestling. He's been doing it for 12 years. So on the national stage, he's young in that respect because he hasn't had a lot of TV time on the national stage. But either way, I think it's time to make a big move sooner rather than later.
Listen, we're getting older here, just FYI, but we've been watching this guy for a long time.
For me, at least 7 years. Yeah. And I'll say this: look real quick. Well, look at what NXT's done for Ethan Page this quickly. Yeah. So just imagine Ricky Starkz going to NXT and doing the same thing, and him elevating a brand because he's Ricky Starkz. So I would look forward to that.
All right, last guy we're going to do tonight. I like this. We're going to keep this as a future thing, as names that we can throw into the hat on this thing. So last guy we will do tonight that rumors are going around about, and this guy's young. We're only talking 25 years old. He's only been wrestling 7 years. Definitely one of the fresh faces. Damian knows who I am going with. Daniel Garcia, who's got, at least he's not in the purgatory in AEW. He is around. He is there. But there's definitely rumors swirling about Daniel Garcia. So should a move be made? He's a young guy, so he's got time on his side. But also, I think I look at him and I'm like, he feels like he should have more momentum than he does right now.
Thank you, Will.
That's the thing. That's what I'm looking at.
And actually, I will just, my point. I feel like he might want to get a little bit more momentum before he decides to do anything. I think that there's been cases in every sport of folks thinking they're hot shit, and then when it's time to get out there and get a check, sell this guy right now. Ayuk thinking he gonna get out there and get a deal, but nah, and I think Ayuk is a stud, but nah, you got to be hot in order for people to want to make those deals.
Very true. Very true.
And I think that's what it is. Like, I think he's a good wrestler. I think there's potential, but I think he needs to get he needs to be turned up just a little bit more before he decides he's gonna get out there. I don't know the news, I don't know the background behind this, but honestly, it feels like MJF situation where it's like I felt like he was trying to booster up his worth, and maybe it wasn't really equating to the deal he thought he deserved, and thus he came back. I was like, no, I'm back for real. Not all that I was going to Vince stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's potentially could be the same deal. But I think if there's a lessons learned there, he should take a look at what MJF went through. And if he's going to actually step out there and try to broker a bigger deal, he needs to make sure he's still all the way turned up. But he has a long and healthy future, regardless of what happens. Let's just call it what it is.
Here's a question. How did Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, in this moment in time, end up in the same spot on the roster?
Good point.
God. Well, I mean,
now we know how Sammy got there.
I mean, Sammy's at least, he's relegated behind the paywall of honor.
Right. We know how Sammy got there. But as far as everything that you guys have been saying about, relevance and your stock and establishing what you can, it's never been about the work. The reason why we're spotlighting these people is because we know that they can do the work.
Yeah.
But
there's something missing.
There's something missing. How are they here in the same spot?
There's nothing missing with Sammy. They just hate him. They hate him.
Yeah,
him, his child, his wife, everything. They just hate the dude.
Damn, not the kid.
They do, man. It's like
the kid gets heat too.
The hate for him makes no sense.
the heat.
They just hate him. He got married and they were not happy about that. It's like they just hate the dude for no reason.
I found the love of my life. Fuck you.
I'm a dad now. Fuck you even more.
I mean, listen, I'm sorry. I know I'm going for the tangent, but I said that AEW All Access was really a PR and HR move to make everybody in a better light of the fans. So it was supposed to make Britt Baker look better. It was supposed to make the Bucks look better from that situation. And then they had nice, good old Sammy Guevara there and Ty, and they were talking about all the challenges and everything they was going through. And you felt a little sympathetic about them, you thought. Because soon as it aired, it was like, no, fuck that guy still. He's happy. We don't like it. We don't care if she don't get a spot on the roster. Fuck them. It just made no sense, man. How much they hate them for no reason.
And they had one season of that.
My thing with Garcia is he finally found a gimmick outside of just being a wrestler, right? Mm-hmm. Now he's Alex Wright 2.0, but he's also a good wrestler. So if we're going to try to capitalize on that and be entertaining, then sure, make the jump if you think you're going to be entertaining and branch out to different things. But if you want to be a professional wrestler, like we said earlier in the program, AEW is the wrestler's show. So if you want to be known as a professional wrestler and not a sports entertainer, why don't you stay where you are, or unless your contract's up, but just stay where you are and apply your craft even more, because you can't get any lower than Sammy Guevara's followed. So at the very least, we know he can't go that low.
I mean, it really just comes down to what he wants out of this. I think that he's a damn talented wrestler, and he's obviously pretty damn good as far as the character building and stuff like that. Yeah. But the fact that you call him Alex Wright 2.0, and I think that he's in the same roster spot as Sammy Guevara. Is that something that you would say about a person of his caliber as a wrestler? Well, that's not what it should be, and yet here we are. I do think that this is another instance of AEW not really capitalizing on the things that they have in front of them. And I get it. They have an agenda. They want to push in the direction that they want to push in. And for whatever reason, that involves Jericho all the time. Sure. But it's still to the point of is that, yes, Garcia, great young talent, but he will be a great young talent down in AAA down in CMLL with the Lucha Brothers, or in New Japan Strong, sooner than later, or in TNA, with Mike Bailey, doing work. So, he has the options. He has the talent. He can do whatever he wants. But
he definitely.
But he's not going to get bigger than AEW because he's not ready for WWE yet. So now, what do you do?
Yeah, and that, to that point, WWE main roster, but NXT could be an interesting look.
That's what I was gonna say, because I'm looking at it and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, NXT, the move to the CW, and they're gonna want young faces, and that's what he's got. He's young.
Charisma.
If it's gonna be a move to NXT, I think either it's gotta be a veteran status thing or super young. And he's one of the guys that'd be like, NXT on the CW, they're gonna want some fresh blood on there. I wouldn't mind that move. Listen, Garcia on the CW.
Ain't nobody in the last 2 or 3 months talked about Joe Hendry's wrestling. Nope. So
all that being a meme.
So let's just say that everything they're doing right now is because of the star power and celebrity that he has created, and that they just continue to just elevate. And I think, to your point, Will, that when you bring somebody that comes from another brand, that's also going to bring some eyes. But also because of his match potential and the charisma that I think he has, I think he reeks that sort of thing. But again, he needs to be turning it all up to the max right now, because he needs to make sure that he is a well sorted out free agent and not just somebody that he's high on himself and nobody else is. Marcellus, I'm going to pick on you one more time really quickly.
Please. Go
ahead. All I know is Ayuk wants out of San Francisco. Ayuk ain't. He's not talking about going like to Canadian football leagues or anything. When you're on the Super Bowl team and you are one of the best quarterbacks or wide receivers out there, you don't take step backs. You go forward, So even with CD wanting to get out of Dallas, first place he looked at, it seems like he's hinting at is the Kansas City Chiefs. So in everything we talked about today, just remember that everybody's goal is to go up. not back.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I like this. We are going to revisit this because I think there's a lot of guys, especially the rest of this year. There's a lot of moving pieces in the wrestling landscape, and there's a lot of places people can land these days. And as contracts come up, it's been a long time since we've had this many options that are viable to make money. So we're going to keep this as a topic. We're going to keep this in my back pocket of like names of people on the bubble that we can go around the horn on and be like, oh, what's up with this guy? What's up with this guy? Where might they end up? We're going to keep that. And folks, you got ideas for people we should check out and throw into the hat.
Becky Lynch.
Okay. We went into overtime this week, so we got to save some for down the road. But yeah, yes, a fun night tonight. We had a busy show, and we even went into overtime tonight since we had a full house here and we had a lot to say. But folks, every Thursday night, 8 p.m., your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast is live, streaming here at biggoldbelt.com/live, along with Twitch, YouTube, on X, you name it. We try to get the stream up live on multiple platforms so you can check it out and join in on the fun. If you're looking for the audio version, it drops shortly thereafter on all podcast platforms, and the video version lives on YouTube. So you can check it out in multiple different ways each and every week. On the social media, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board, whether you're talking Twitter, Instagram, X, all that good stuff. And of course, on the web, biggoldbelt.com. Since we got the boss man here tonight, you've been at Comic-Con, you've been all over the place. You were in the room for the return of Iron Man turning into Dr. Doom. What's happening on biggoldbelt.com? What is the latest in wrestling, movies, comics, and more?
Let's see. We got some work coming up. Transformers 1 reviews will be out next week. I think me and Damien both seeing that. As of right now, we got Alien review out, and we also got what else just dropped? Alien and Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut in Blink Twice. Both of those are out. So yeah. Big. Some other movies coming out. A lot of other San Diego stuff is still coming out. It's so much stuff to go. But yeah, I think for the big ones, look forward to Transformers 1. Damien's a big Transformers fan. I've seen some of it already, and it looks amazing. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the entire film next week. So yeah.
There you go, folks. Now remember, Big Gold Belt is not just wrestling. It's Big Gold Belt Media. So it's wrestling, movies, comics, and more. So go to biggoldbelt.com to keep in the loop on everything entertainment.
Oh, Will, you just reminded me. I'm sorry. I just saw the trailer of something drop last night for Netflix, and I saw you commented.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, there may be an interview very much pending right now for that. So
okay.
Yeah. So what's the name of it? It's called the Queen. What's it called?
The Dump Matsumoto Netflix show that's coming out about Joshi. What are they actually calling it?
Is it called the villain? Now. It's called
something Queen Villain or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It is Queen of Villains. Queen of Villains dropping in September on Netflix on the rise of Dump Matsumoto in Japanese wrestling.
Yeah, we'll obviously be covering that, but there's an interview for that is pending right now, so we'll have more to talk about with that.
By the way, I thought all this time that Will was wearing a Glacier t-shirt. I was like, oh, that's a different design for Glacier the wrestler, and it's a brewery. So my bad.
Yes, it's a brewery in Montana. Yes, I don't have a Glacier shirt. I may have to look into that.
We
always got to rep WCW on here, man. Blood indeed runs cold. Yeah, there we go. All right, folks. Thursday night, 8 p.m. We will be back next week. Thanks for joining us here tonight. This has been a fun one with some extra time for you folks. Glad you were here to have some fun watching wrestling with us. We'll be back then. And until then, folks, stay safe, stay cool while it's hot out there this summer. And we will talk to you later.